That call from NBC, that's Tarico, Pete Rock, and CL Smooth. We reminisce. That's what it's going to feel like when we think about Deebo Samuel and Dre Greenlaw, both back in the fold. Won't surprise you that I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway because this is where my head went. So for moronic voices, for example, one of which came on 95.7 The Game yesterday to say that the 49er training staff is the worst in the NFL, and they're awful at everything that they do, and all the players know that, which is why they run away from the 49ers in the offseason. Or are you a substation conspiracy theorist? Or Kyle Shanahan is not respected and works these guys too hard. Blah, 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 blah. That's what this signing meant to me. Both of these signings. These two guys, both of them, walked out of here because they felt at that given time, you know what? Sure, I could stay, but I want to try something else in my life. I feel like maybe I'll be more respected somewhere else, and that's fine. I hold nothing against people who want to try something new or if they're feeling a certain way about something. But guess what? It took both of them 1 year before they went, oh, actually, you know what? 49er organization does a lot of things right. Do they do everything right? Nobody does. But guess, I'll make a prediction for you right now. I bet you in another year or two, Juwan Jennings is going to feel the exact same way. I feel it's very similar. There was nothing disrespectful that went down. There was nothing wrong, but Juwan felt a certain way, should have been paid a certain way, and now he's going to go play with J.J. McCarthy or Kyler Murray. Okay. Have a good time. Let's see. Hopefully it works out.
Maybe he'll enjoy it. Maybe he'll fit in great.
Maybe he will.
He's the kind of receiver I think that teams would love to have because he's not afraid to roll it up and get dirty, and he makes the tough catches, those little in-cuts over the middle when you know you're going to get clocked by somebody like a Fred Warner or a Dre Greenlaw or a big safety, but he does it, and he fights for yards, and he gets after it on every single snap. So if Minnesota loves it and he feels valued, he'll stay. And the Greenlaw one was interesting because he signed a 3-year deal, and they're not guaranteed, of course. And he goes there, and he's injured, and he never quite gets the foothold that he thought he would get. Deebo in Washington's a little bit similar, where they had a bad year, and they're still going through some changes. And so he gets let go, and now there's a spot to come home.
I think there's a bunch of different, no wrong way to eat a Reese's, right? If you're a good organization, there are a number of ways to do it. But I think if you follow the 49ers, you're going to understand what I'm about to say. Dre Greenlaw and Deebo Samuel are 49ers. They fit this iteration of the Niners, their attitude, their vibe, their way, etc., perfectly. Are they as good as they used to be? Probably not. I don't know exactly where the whole Greenlaw thing is from a health standpoint. I know Deebo is not what he used to be, and I am not in any way, shape, or form in favor of the 49ers bringing Deebo into his old role. That's too big of a role for Deebo right now. But, my God, they fit. Just their way. Their vibe fits the 49er locker room and field. You've been to practices. You know what that energy sort of feels like. It's different for every team and every room and every place of business. Not saying one is better than the other. They just fit. They fit. And so from that perspective, that doesn't mean anything to me if it doesn't work. I want it to work first and foremost. But yeah, how can you not be glad that they're back? They're just kind of quintessential 49ers of this era.
And I'm just thinking about other examples of this, and tell me if you're expecting more out of these two as opposed to these examples. And the first one is Andre Iguodala. Wasn't born a Warrior, but was here, won here, and went to the Heat for a couple of years and came back and won a championship.
Yep.
And he played 31 games. I'm looking at it here, 20 minutes a night. So he was not a absolutely key cog, but he came back. And the other two, Mullen and Chris Webber, who both came back at the tail ends of their careers. Mullen probably more at the very, very end, almost ceremonial. So, can Deebo have an Andre Iguodala kind of an effort? And you mentioned Pablo Sandoval before, which I thought was a good one too, because he went to Boston and it didn't fit.
Just not a fit.
And then, you know, he got in some trouble when he was, you know, firing off some IGs from the can, and, you know, Boston never really embraced him, and then he eventually came back.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of, I'm trying to think, that was the first comp that came to mind. I'm sure there are others if I thought about it harder. That's one of those things that's kind of always interesting to me in free agency or acquisitions. Look, there's a fair case study that's not done yet about Rafi Devers in the reverse sort of a way. Like, was Rafi a Red Sox? Is he just not a Giant? I think that's calmed down because he's played pretty well over the last 5 or 6 weeks.
And now he's bunting for hits.
Yeah. I mean, some people like that, some don't.
Not running out pop flies that drop in.
Don't love that.
No.
But, you know, I mean, he ain't the first middle of the order dude that takes a few walk steps when he pops the ball up. Don't love it. The bunt thing, I don't know, when you're leading off an inning, okay, it was a beautiful bunt. But my point is I do think 6 weeks ago there was a conversation about this. And we had baseball people come on and go, God, it's not the right ballpark. It's not the right vibe. It's just not a great fit. And that'll change if Rafi continues to hit the ball like his baseball card, and if they can figure out the whole DH first base thing with Bryce Eldridge going forward. But this is something that I kind of enjoy looking at. You sign someone as a free agent or bring them in, and sometimes, I mean, Hargrave was another one. Hargrave was a great Eagle. And then everybody was like, what a great signing. Yeah. And it was a complete bust. Why? I don't know.
D Ford came and he had some great moments, but he was a Chief. And
he was right, but that was a little injury-related end of his career. But you see it a lot, right? Where you're just like, why didn't you play here the way you played there? I don't know. Like, it's a fit. And Pablo Sandoval did come back, and was he his old self? No, but he was a Giant, and he fit right back in, and he produced at a certain level. So
I do think that the football part of it is about scheme and fit. And so what Deebo did here, he can still do, maybe not as often, but he can be a guy who can sneak in and carry the ball. He didn't carry it a lot for Washington, but he still has that in his game. He's 31. He can run routes. He's a physical ball carrier when he has it. And you mentioned it before, the expectations for Deebo are not going to be what they were before he left because he's older. You've got more players in front of him. So is he going to get, 50% of offensive snaps? That feels like about the number that I would anticipate.
Not a great comp because he didn't do a whole lot his first stint, but what if I give you a little Ryan Vogelsong?
Yeah.
Ryan Vogelsong started with the Giants. He was 22, 23 years old, but there really wasn't much to say about Ryan Vogelsong in his first 20 or so major league appearances. Then he moved on to Pittsburgh. He went to the Pirates, and nothing really great ever happened with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Then he came back, and Ryan Vogelsong made an all-star team. Ryan Vogelsong was a champion. All of these things happened back with the Giants. There's almost something that I can't even put my finger on with this conversation.
It's like je ne sais quoi.
Certain guys belong in certain spots. That's the best way I could say it.
And I think the Pablo one is a great comp for that because, he's the Kung Fu Panda.
Yep.
And, forget the success in the World Series and the rest of it. But when he left and he went to Boston, it never felt right. And when he came back, you mentioned it. Yeah, he wasn't the same player, but he was still good enough, and he was immediately beloved. You threw your arms around him because it's the Panda, and he's back. And Mullen, I would say, is a lot like that for me because he was always a Warrior, and he was my favorite player, and I think yours too. Yeah. And he left to go to the Pacers, and he came back to end it here. And it's like, yeah, I'm glad he came back to end it here. He wasn't the same player he was in Indiana or when he left, but there was something that felt right about seeing him in the Warrior uni.
Let's go to Eric in Houston. We'll take your calls here. 888-957-9570 is the number. Eric, appreciate it. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, what's going on? I got to tell y'all, I'm originally from Philly. I've been in Houston for 2 years, but in Philly all my life, and I've been a Niners fan as long as I can remember. So Deebo, I had to defend Deebo against every Eagles fan in Philly. I couldn't stand it. I'm not an Eagles fan at all. So for me to have to go back and forth with them, I defended Deebo. Deebo was my guy. I had bets going on that whenever we play certain teams, I'm like, look, I don't want to do money. Let's bet jersey. So if I win, y'all got to put this Niners jersey on and take a picture, put it on social media. So I got nothing but different teams play. So and they wore the Deebo jersey. So when Deebo left, it hurt me. Like, I had just moved to Houston, that he wanted to leave, he left. I threw my Deebo jersey in the trash. Yes, I was one of those guys. Oof. Yes. It hurt me because, like I said, I defended him against Philadelphia. Not just anybody. Remember, you know how those fans are.
Oh, yeah.
The Eagles fans are. So I had to defend him. So when he left, that hurt me. It hurt my heart. I know it's more about the name on front of the jersey than the name on the back, but like I said, Deebo was my guy. So I defended Deebo as much as I could every year. So when he left, it hurt me. Is he back? I mean, of course, he's not coming back at that same capacity of what he was, but him coming back, am I happy about it? I'm like, we need.
Nope. Oh, Eric's driving around, and I want
me.
Oh, there you go, Eric. You cut out for a second. Start over with the part about, like, are you conflicted by this?
All right, my thing is, he hurt me. Like, Deebo was my guy. So with him coming back, I know he's not coming back at that same capacity. He's not coming back at the number one receiver. I mean, right now he's our number two because of what's going on. But he hurt me. I mean, like I said, it's more. It's always going to be about the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. And it's always going to be me. But the way he left and the way I had to defend him and the way he left, it's just like, am I happy about him? I'm 50-50. I'm like, whatever. He's back. He's just another body right now.
Interesting. Eric, thanks, man. I mean, I would more look at it. I never felt the parting of ways between the 49ers and Deebo was contentious.
More so with fans, I think.
Yeah.
Based on the things you laid out earlier, where he wants the ball more. Here's a big spot. Here's the ball. You drop it. The optics of getting into it with the kicker who's already beleaguered and then the long snapper. And it just didn't feel like he had that joy anymore. And I'm thinking about the guy who might be the next to come home, who that final season didn't have that joy, and his name is Clay Thompson. And for me, that would be the ultimate comp if Clay came back. I mean, Clay won titles, Deebo didn't, but Clay kind of reminded me that last year of the way Deebo, the way I remember the Deebo year, it didn't feel like the team was struggling, and it didn't feel like Deebo was the same guy. He looked like he was edgy.
Yeah, it was clunky, but I never felt it to be controversial. You know what I mean? I never felt the 49ers and Deebo, even in their parting. I think they parted ways, and at least publicly went out was, it's mutual. And you never know. When I hear that word, I'm always like, well, somebody is, one of you is the more pissed off party. I don't know which one of you it is, but I do think they sort of reached a spot where they're like, look, I think it's time for us to kind of go in a different direction. And Deebo, for sure, because in football and professional sports, the same as Clay, like you just brought up, it's very easy to feel disrespected, especially when you are a great within a franchise, and then they start to get to a spot where they're like, you can still be here, but maybe not as one of our featured people. That comes off as very, very disrespectful to high-level athletes, even though it's the right thing to do. Clay Thompson, I know for a fact, felt very disrespected by the way things went down, to the point where he took a deal that was, less per year than what the Warriors had offered him. And then Deebo, remember, don't forget what Deebo went through, forget on the field, but off the field. The drafting of Ricky Pearsall and all the rumors leading up to the draft of, like, we might trade Deebo or we might trade Brandon. And then Deebo came out publicly and he's like, they told me that they're not trading me. And then NFL reporters the next day are like, yeah, they might trade Deebo. And so for sure he got his feelings hurt. And then when you start losing like the Niners did, everybody gets upset and frustration overwhelms. And so he felt like it was time for a fresh start. But it's meaningful to me for anybody who goes to check something else out, and then you get a little distance, you get a little calm, you get a little sleep, and you miss the playoffs while your old team goes. And you take a look back and go, oh, you know what? That famous Counting Crows line, and I know that it was a remake, but, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone?
Joni Mitchell.
There you go. It's Joni Mitchell song.
Yeah. And it's
Counting
true.
Crows remake.
And, the old expression of, you can't go home again, or you can. In fact, you can go home again. And I'm thinking about my HVAC guy, because I've got a guy, you know me.
You got an HVAC guy?
I got an HVAC guy.
Yeah.
And I got a garage guy. We'll get to that later.
I don't know enough about houses to even have a guy.
So you need an HVAC guy, and we had a situation where a rat had crawled into the system and died. And so,
Sounds like an ATCO problem, not an HVAC problem.
Well, no, because I didn't need it to be eradicated. I just needed it removed. And so you call the HVAC guy, and you get to know him, and turns out he's been married 3 times to the same woman.
Yeah.
Married, divorced. You know what? Let's give it a second shot. Nah, not working. You know what? 3rd time's a charm, am I right?
The 3rd time is diabolical.
In other words,
that's unbelievable.
It is completely, and
still, to your knowledge, all good 3rd time around?
If I have an HVAC problem, I'll let you know.
Okay.
It could be in LeBron country right now.
I'm invested.
Not 5, not 6. My point
God.
is, you can go home again. I think about Billy Martin managing the Yankees like 4 or 5 different stints, and now Deebo and Greenlaw come back.
What would you do? Not if somebody got married to the same person 3 times.
I know where you're going.
But they invited you to the wedding.
I'm going to the wedding, but you're getting no gift.
And registered.
Okay. You know what that would be, right? It would be a registration sensation. I would have to write not a firmly worded email, but I just have to let them know up front. I appreciate the invite. I'm coming. I'm taking on an Uber. Your boy's getting after it, and you're not getting anything.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Oh, actually, I don't believe that we said that it was a hosted bar, but you're invited.
Right. So instead of dropping $50 on a vase for you, I'm spending that $50 at the bar. Anyhow, yes, that's the way I would approach it.
3 times to the same person?
Isn't it just renewing your vows at that point?
No, because if the courts are involved, if you actually, went through with it, paperwork.
I actually, if you can get your it's Friday. I think we should have your HVAC guy on at some point.
Yeah,
I've got so many questions. What happens to all the stuff that you split the 1st and the 2nd time? Gone. Does it come back together?
Interesting.
What if right? Like in theory, there could be alimony payments.
Could be.
Do they dissipate? Is it a dissipation sensation?
That's $1, and I'm sure the alimony is more than $1.
And then there's alimony again.
Re-alimony.
And then there's unalimony.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll look into it. I'll see if I can find his number. It's been about 6 years since.
Oh, then they're definitely divorced at least 2 more times.
You never know. They could be. They could be right back in it. Wasn't Ricky Henderson on the A's like 3 times? Twice for sure.
Who won that race? Ricky with the A's or Billy Martin with the Yankees? Like who had more
stints?
More stints. Yeah. God, when you say that about Ricky, that brings
Ricky was 6 years with the A's, Yankees. Came back for 5 with the A's, Blue Jays. Came back with 2 with the A's, Padres, Angels. Came back for 1 more with the A's.
Oh, it was 4 stints?
Yes.
How many?
4.
Wow.
Did you know that he was a Dodger?
I did. I mean, Ricky was everywhere, dude.
Pretty much.
Wait, can I name all the teams? How many teams were there?
Oh, boy.
And don't do the double stints. Just how many different uniforms did he wear?
He wore a grand total of 9.
Okay, you mentioned most of them there.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get them. A's, Yankees,
Ding.
Angels,
Ding.
Dodgers,
Skading.
Padres,
Ling.
Blue Jays,
Swing.
Mets.
Kabing.
So there's 2 more that I didn't get?
Facts. Willard has gone 7 for 7 on the Ricky Henderson baseball card.
I knew those.
And by the way, when you look at Ricky's baseball card, it's written in 2-point font.
Oh.
Because it doesn't fit.
Mariners?
Skading.
Okay.
Willard needs.
Oh, I think I know.
Are you looking at his baseball reference?
No, I'm not. I'm looking at just a list of the teams to see which ones jog in my mind
in those teams.
I think I know it, but I'm going to run through the rest of the teams to confirm my thoughts. Is it the Boston Red Sox?
Schooling. Ricky Henderson.
Ricky, don't you lose that number.
Steely Dan.
How many years did he play?
I believe 24, 25.
Got to be the
Quarter century.
25 years, 9 different uniforms, and one of the best players ever. Like, why did people keep moving him? That's what I want to know.
Well,
like, why did everybody, right? Ricky, snatch catch, leadoff homers,
Quirky.
stolen bases. Today, I am the greatest of all time.
So great.
Why did everybody keep moving him?
It's just the way that went. And he was so close to being a member of the 3,000 club. 300 homers, 3,000 hits. He had 297 home runs.
Damn.
And 3,055 hits. Anyway.
Trying to think, and I do think of him as an Oakland A. Like, that was home.
How could you not? He was there 4 times.
No, but I just mean to the point of what I was saying earlier. Like, some guys are just they belong with that team, and I kind of feel that way about Deebo. Like, Deebo's you're a Niner. You're a Niner. I don't know how this is going to go. I'm not even like in love with the football aspect of it. Remember last year we're all, hey, the Niners receivers need to be faster and they need to be able to beat man coverage a lot more. Oh, Deebo. That's not what Deebo is.
Not his strength, but he can block in the run game.
Yes,
and
he can do a lot of things.
Be a possession receiver. And if you look at what they have, Stribling is big, and he projects to be a guy who can play in the slot or play outside. You've got Robinson, your deep guy. Evans is your straight-up vet who can do absolutely everything. Kirk's a question mark, and then you throw Deebo in there. Deebo is not like the others. He brings something that none of these other receivers have. Just
totally different.
Real quick, the Ricky versus Billy, it's a tie.
Is it? He had 4 different stints with the Yankees?
75 to 79, 4 with the A's, 1 with the Yankees, took the year off, 1 with the Yankees, took 2 off, 1 more with the Yankees.
Wow.
So I don't know what, like, he and
Steinbrenner would just, like, they're fired.
Exactly.
Back. I remember how when Joe Lacob was like, I've thought about firing Steve Kerr like 5 times. Steinbrenner would actually do it, and then he'd bring it back.
And the fourth and final stint, the Yankees are 40 and 28. You're fired.
Not good enough.
You're so fired.
I mean, so many things, but also nothing. I'm trying to think of other people who are just like, that's where you belonged. It's where you belonged all along.